Hey everybody, welcome back to the YouTube channel. And look, I was not going to record a video tonight, but after watching the Pelicans Mavs game, the basketball gods moved me, okay? My emotions are running high, and I just needed to get my thoughts out about Derik Lively because he's kind of blowing my brain right now in both like good ways and bad. And yeah, I just had to really kind of articulate and express these thoughts because who knows, maybe tomorrow I won't be as passionate or moved by this, okay? And look, today I actually have clips for you. I actually have a lot of clips. I have like 12, maybe even 15. I haven't counted. But hopefully, for the guys who didn't watch the game because it's too late, or just so you guys kind of really actually see what I saw today, all right? So you can kind of keep track with the fact that, my takes or my opinions here, my observation, they are kind of based on something, right? By the way, just for some context as to why Derik Queen is like so important and kind of looming in my mind and NBA media's minds right now is basically the Pelicans traded away the 25th or maybe the 26th pick in the draft this year, forgot which one it was, to the Atlanta Hawks, as well as an unprotected pick this season for the right to draft Derik Queen at I think it was 13, right? Yeah, it was 13. And obviously, this is a huge deal because the Pelicans aren't doing so hot. And right now, their pick is projected to transfer to Atlanta in the top like five right now, maybe even top three, right? But who knows how like the lottery shakes out. And of course, this is a big deal because the Pelicans, they just had this new front office. They just hired Joe Dumars and Trajan Langdon, who kind of ran the Pistons to the ground when he was with them with the early Cade Cunningham years, right? And they make this huge splashy move. And even at the time, everybody was like, oh my God, what are they doing? This is like potentially one of the worst moves ever because it's no disrespect to Queen, who I think a lot of people were very happy drafting at 13. Loads of guys had him in their top 10 even, right? But it was just you're really kind of banking on this season 2026 being not a year in which you pick in the top five because I mean we'll get into this later on in the year, but this draft class is supposed to be stacked and it's looking stacked. And they're giving up an opportunity to take AJ DeBounce or Darren Peterson for Derik Queen specifically. So Derik Queen being good is really, really important for the Pelicans. And I think he is good, okay? And okay, if you don't believe me, I've got clips today. Okay, here are the clips. I'm hoping this actually works. But yeah, like right here, this type of thing where Queen has, I think, really demonstrated that he can be a really good outside to in passer. You have a lot of centers who are really good at kind of just passing the ball out when they're posting up and being double teamed. That's one kind of passing, right? And it's important to be good at that because, like for example, Joel Embiid kind of really struggled with that earlier in his career, but now he's a lot better at just sensing double teams and getting the ball to open shooters before those guys really get there, right? But I think Queen, he has a different level where it is more of that Sengun Jokic level where it's like, yeah, he can really read a defense and throw guys open. Like here, like Trey Murphy, that's not really like an open shot there, right? He really threw it up over a smaller defender and got him an alley oop there. That's not absolutely not a pass that all but like again two or three centers in the league are making routinely. But honestly, okay, this is the play here that really kind of blew my mind today. It might not seem that deep, but it's kind of just like a live dribble lob here where he's literally just like dribbling towards the wing and off a split second read, he's able to hit Zion for an alley oop. And I just think this is just beautiful, right? You don't even see guards making this type of pass very frequently, where it's just kind of just like one-handed flip shot. Like that's how you can tell this is someone who's really comfortable with his accuracy and with what he's doing, right? He's like 10 games in. This is kind of like he's in flow state. He sees it. I'm telling you, it's just a beautiful play. Okay, and here's another one. This is just another kind of like pass through cutter with the outside in, where you can tell. Okay, if you kind of ran an offense with him at like the top of the key, the way you do with like Jokic or Sengun, where they're really kind of surveying the court and whether they want to attack themselves, you can absolutely have cutters like moving around off ball, and I think Derik Queen is going to find those guys, right? And of course, the last pass. This one, honestly, it's flashy. It's not quite as like cool. It's just a behind the back dump to Trey Murphy, who has a absolutely sick dunk. Personally, I don't really actually think that one shows off anything besides like he has a flair for the dramatic, of course. But just a cool pass. Okay, he had 11 assists today. He had 7 assists in the first quarter. So this is clearly someone who I think, with the ball in his hands, like I do think Derik Queen is more of someone who he kind of needs to dominate the ball almost, especially at the stage where he's not really shooting threes yet. He does take like he's been taking like I think like two a game or something since getting actual minutes, and he hasn't really been hitting a lot of them. He hit one last night, but I do think it's something he like will eventually get to, like the 3 to 4 threes per game and shooting like 35% level at least. But I do think at least at this stage, he is someone who really needs the ball in his hands. You can't really use him as like a lob threat off the pick and roll because he's not kind of like jumping up in the air and grabbing those like alley oops and dunks, right? And of course, while he is like a good like passer off the short roll, it's always better to have like a pick and roll partner who can provide like vertical spacing that way. I think you'd rather run those plays with like Yves Missy a lot more than Derik Queen, at least right now. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling here, but my overarching point is I do kind of have like a short term concern that Queen is a little bit of like a ball dominant big man who, if the ball is not really in his hands, he's not really contributing to the offense that much because he can't really step out and shoot threes yet, and he's not going to be much of a vertical threat in terms of being a dump off or a lob threat, right? And again, I think this kind of resolves itself in the long term through two methods. One, him becoming good enough to where he's controlling the ball on offense most of the time anyways. And two, I do think he will eventually be able to step out and hit threes and get to, like I said before, that 3 to 4 threes mark where he's shooting like 35%. I think I'm kind of envisioning like DeMarcus Cousins, Joel Embiid, that level of like 3-point shooting where it's like, yeah, you don't really want them taking that shot too often because they're so much better inside the line, I guess. But defenses can't really leave them open, and if you want to have them do like this pick and pop scenario, like yeah, he can hit that shot. Back to Lively's scoring, right? Because I think that he's very clearly shown in those last two games that he absolutely has like at least 25 plus points per game upside. I do think it's a fair question of how translatable to winning that actually will be, which I feel like I've said this like 12 times already, but we'll get to that later. Okay. Yeah, but he's gone to this shot a lot. And I think this is one of the reasons why I think I am very confident that he can become a good 3-point shooter in due time, because he is so confident taking these little like hezzy pull-up jumpers from like pretty deep into mid-range. And I think the transfer of energy on his jumper is pretty smooth. There's no like hitch. There's nothing I think inherently wrong with it at first glance, at least. There's plenty of big men and shooters with worse form who can step out and hit threes. So yeah, I do think his familiarity with being able to like shoot off the dribble from the mid-range already will definitely translate to stepping outside to the 3-point line. But most importantly, this is absolutely a crazy skill set for a rookie big man to have, right? Like a lot of guys kind of developed straight, like Karl-Anthony Towns, Joel Embiid, even Bam Adebayo even, although I feel like Bam is honestly more of like a forward at this point on offense, but that's a different topic for another day. A lot of these guys kind of developed that trait. Not very many of them come into the league being able to do this, right? Honestly, like off the top of my head, I can't even really think of one. A lot of times we have guys like Evan Mobley who, yeah, you think they're going to be able to develop this trait because they kind of show off that fluidity and ball handling a little bit and a little bit of shooting touch, but they never do. Derik Queen is like light years ahead of those guys already. His comfort and shooting off the dribble from the mid range is honestly like pretty astounding. We kind of knew he could do that at Maryland because he was like taking a few of the shots per game, but it's just different to do it against like NBA defenders, NBA athleticism, right? So yeah, it's really good to see that this is absolutely translating, and it feels like he can reach that point where he is one of those like guys who is facing up all the time and taking like 6 of these shots a game where there's nothing you can really do about it because he's just he's tall, he can hit that with perfect soft touch. The second thing I want to talk about is his footwork. He really likes getting into this kind of like spin move down the paint, and I do think he has what we call ballerina footwork, I guess, where he's just naturally very light and nimble on his feet. And this is where I kind of like got to my DeMarcus Cousins animations and Zach Randolph's body comp from like my Instagram and Twitter, where Cousins, you see this guy who's like huge and like 260 pounds or wherever he was, like 270, 280, I forgot. And he just moved so incredibly well. Even if he wasn't like a particularly explosive jumper, Derik Queen has a lot of those same traits where, yeah, he's kind of honestly just spamming the same move in a lot of these clips, which you'll see. But God, this is just like gorgeous. He, just takes him off the dribble, and it's just a rare thing again for a guy his age to have, right? And here's another one, similar thing. He kind of just gets turns his back and gets to another spin move here. And yeah, let's just shut up and watch this real quick. Like that's gorgeous, right? It's against Derek Lively, 7 foot tall, one of the best shot blockers in the entire league, and he just gets him off balance with a little bump, and gets that little flip shot over someone who's a lot bigger, taller, and more athletic than him. I do think one thing that's really interesting is he was kind of painted as like a back to the basket scorer coming into the draft, which I do think wasn't inaccurate, at least at Maryland. He did show off a lot of those like really basic low post moves where he had good touch on like hook shots, fadeaways, etc. But honestly, in the NBA, I'm not actually sure if I've ever seen Queen really go to that kind of like move set. He's really kind of been like a face up guy. He's been attacking a lot off of the wing, which is kind of what a modern NBA center does, anyways. Like when you watch Joel Embiid in years past play or Karl Anthony Towns, these guys aren't really honestly working from the low post that much. They still do, of course, but very often they're facing up from the wing or the elbow. And yeah, I mean, Queen kind of just fits right in with that. I think at this point, like, yeah, we can all kind of tell, like, Derek Queen can average 20 plus points a game in the NBA easily, right? It's more so a matter of how impactful his defense can be and just how good his offense can be to offset that, right? Or what is truly his offensive ceiling. And yeah, we can go back and look at some of his, the clutch, the end of this game, at least the clutch scenario, because I do feel kind of bad for Queen. Honestly, the Pelicans, they were really kind of depending on him to run their offense for like 5, 6 straight possessions there, which is a little odd to me because you had Zion Williamson and you have Trey Murphy, who are both 20 point scorers. I'm not sure if Trey Murphy ever got there, but he's been close, right? And we know Zion has averaged like 28 before in his career and absolutely should be the guy at this stage who's running the offense towards the end of the game. But yeah, Queen kind of really had the ball in his hands to close this game out. And I don't think he did that bad for a rookie. I mean, I just watched like Anthony Edwards later in the same night miss 2 free throws and blow like a 10 point lead with 3 minutes left against the Suns. So I think it's kind of silly to act like not all veterans even make mistakes like this. And I think Queen didn't even do that bad because he did score 2 times. Here's the first play of that. He gets the ball against flag here and just goes to work, bully ball, uses his size and weight to move inside. And again, this is kind of where my like DeMarcus Cousins animations and Zach Randolph's body comes out. I'm not using Boogie as my like base comp because Boogie had like a 7 foot like 3 wingspan or something ridiculous, and I think he was just bigger than Queen overall and a little bit more athletic. But I don't think their games are that different. I think in terms of like the way they score, it is pretty similar. And here's the other basket where actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm gonna show you the first play before that. Because this comes after. So he gets blocked by PJ Washington. Honestly, though, again, this move right here is kind of disgusting. Like little low on the slave spin move. Like that's a good move. Just gets blocked by good defender. That just happens in the NBA. Okay. People are gonna point out that. And I think that like Queen is just he really is kind of adjusting to NBA size and length right now. And I think that as his like career develops, he's gonna know, okay, in a play like this, I should protect the ball a little bit better, maybe body him up a little bit more before my jump, whatever. But yeah, so he gets blocked here, and then on that same possession, he still scores. Okay, like they get the ball back, and he goes right into Lively, bumps him, gets this little kind of hierarching 2 foot jump stop to go in. Hey, I think that shows a little bit of dog, right? He got blocked the play before, and it comes right back down, scores anyways. But then that's kind of like where the good parts of this game kind of end because he does have this like really weird turnover towards the end of this where he kind of just like dribbles the ball and loses it. And admittedly, I do think Queen kind of has like a turnover problem. Oh, this is the wrong play. Sorry. Yeah, I do think Queen has a little bit of a turnover problem. Like today, he had 4 turnovers. Last night, he also had 4 as well. Sorry, not last night, against the Nuggets 2 nights ago. And yeah, again, you're asking a rookie center to run your offense in a lot of these plays. he's gonna have dumb passes. A lot of these are just like he's trying something too ambitious where he's throwing the ball away and the defender kind of just like reacts faster than he's used to or gets there faster because again, a few months ago he was playing against college kids and now he's playing against like grown men, right? I think stuff like that, like even Nikola Jokic has turnover problems a lot of times, right? I'm not going to really harp on a rookie big man who's projected to be a great playmaker for making mistakes. You want to make mistakes and figure out, okay, what works and what doesn't work. But admittedly, in this game, something like this, like, yeah, this is just a bad, stupid, like, play here, right? He's not trying to do something. I think he, like, wants to hit Trey Murphy, like, on that, like, coming out the screen over there. But yeah, I mean, again, mistakes happen. It's not like LeBron or Luca or like any of the best players in the world don't do stupid stuff like this towards in the end of close games, right? Like it's just that's what happens. And again, they're asking him to control the ball here in this like play. They weren't their point guard Jeremiah Fears wasn't really running the offense that much. To be fair, he's also a rookie. But my point is they kind of like really trusted Queen towards the end of this game here. And yeah, he didn't deliver 100%, but again, he is a rookie, and I feel like he could have done a lot worse. There's also another play where he does get blocked by, I think it was Lively. After scoring on him, the next play down. Sorry, I had that mislabeled as Daniel Gafford for some reason on my computer. But yeah, I mean, gets to the basket here. Off. By the way, I actually really do like this kind of like big on big pick and roll with Zion and Queen because I do feel like Zion adds something to this offense that of course Queen doesn't with his ability to like get up there for lobs and stuff. I'm not really sure what the long term fit looks like because of course neither of these two guys right now are shooters and I think that like yeah, for an optimal offense it's not great, but for like fun stuff, I do think it is pretty fun. Like we did get that like again that live dribble alley oop to Zion earlier. But yeah, just side note, I thought this was cool, and I thought the play did work or whatever. I think the spacing again here is a little bit, it's kind of lagging. The spacing here is a little bit like weird. Like Lively honestly just does a really good job of like playing both guys here, where Quinn didn't really have a choice but to shoot it. There's not really a kick out option, and yeah, he just gets blocked by a guy who's 7 foot tall and is one of the best shot blockers in the league. And again, I think as his career progresses, he will get better at protecting the ball and timing these things and like understanding, okay, I can't just get away with going up with this like kind of almost soft layup versus Derik Lively, who again is one of the best shot blockers in the entire NBA. And again, it's only his what is it, his 15th game or something. And yeah, they trusted him with the ball towards the end of this game, and he didn't fully 100% deliver. Overall, though, I think this game was still really encouraging because it showed me what it looks like when Derik Queen is kind of like running an offense, right? And I thought the highs were very high and there were lows. But when it comes to a rookie, I'm gonna prioritize the highs, right? Because I just want to see potential and proof that okay, he can do these things. And when it comes to like the bad stuff, you just hope that as he develops, he irons it out, right? I did want to talk about his defense a little bit because I think that Derik Queen has like a reputation for being kind of like a defensive liability who, hey, no matter how good his offense is, he's going to be so bad on defense that it's not going to make it worth it unless he's like Nikola Jokic on offense, who's the possibly the greatest offensive player of all time. And I think that is a very fair concern, and it's a valid argument. But I don't think he's quite as bad on defense as these people are really painting him out to be. There is kind of like a very Jokic quality with how fast his hands are. He is very good at kind of deflections and kind of just creating loose balls. I think even after his turnover late in the game, he was able to help salvage a fast break by knocking a ball loose and securing it. However, I do think Queen actually moves his feet pretty well. There was a play late in tonight's game where Cooper Flag, like, he got an and one off of this, so it made Queen look bad. And to be honest, that foul was kind of like iffy. I'm not actually sure if that was really a foul. It was kind of 50-50, I think. His hands did come down, but the point of that was Flag started that dribble from the top of the key, and Queen stayed in front of him the entire time. Okay, it wasn't like he got beat and he had to foul Flag. Like, no, he had he went straight up with his contest, and it was just like a physical contest there, okay? He made Flag change directions at least once, maybe twice. I forgot. But my point is, this is a wing who's smaller, quicker, a lot more athletic than Queen was, and he moved his feet well enough to stay in front of him. I think that's huge. Okay, like that's something that someone like Jokic at least struggles with, and I think that if you put him on like a big forward, kind of like again Cooper Flag, I think Queen can kind of hold his own in those situations, and that's a huge preventative measure from making him like a black hole, right? Someone who is just like whoever offense, let's just try to torture him as much as possible. I think that Queen does have he is a better one-on-one defender, I think, than a lot of his detractors are giving him credit for. And that does not make up for the fact that he isn't a good rim return. He's never going to be a good shot blocker, I think. He just doesn't have like enough vertical explosiveness to like be someone like Miles Turner or Derek Lively, of course. And again, that hurts. You can't get around that. But I do think if you can put someone next to him who can do that at like the power forward position or whatever, like Aaron Gordon for the Nuggets with Jokic, right? Or maybe even Zion Williamson if he can get back to that level of conditioning. I think that it's like fine and workable, especially if he's going to be that good on offense, right? It's a similar thing with like with Sengun, where yeah, Sengun isn't able to really contest shots like that. Although to be fair, I think Sengun's gotten a lot better. I think his defense has been much improved. But what's really kind of helped mitigate that was they surrounded him with honestly like freaks of nature, like Eamon Thompson, who's from the weak side is absolutely one of the best shot blockers in the league. Point is, I don't think your defense is doomed with Derik Lively. And yeah, tonight was a great game. I hope you did really enjoy this video. I had fun making it. It was cool to have like video clips on here. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.